Hello everybody, welcome to episode 34 of the Joel Helluva series, Sketcheleshious Monday. Hey, you there! I want to remind everybody that if you end up liking this video, please consider subscribing. It's free, and you can always change your mind. And right now, YouTube says that over 90% of people that watch my videos aren't subscribed, so it would really help, and with that... Hey, it's Joel, and welcome to the Joel Helluva Show. Today is episode 34 of the Joel Helluva series, Sketcheleshious Monday, where today I'm going to be drawing my favorite character from the most recent short from Vivziepop called Helluva Boss Episode 2, Lululand, spelled with O's instead of U's to avoid lawsuits, of course. So today I'm going to be drawing the Robotic Fizzarolli, which was of course my favorite character from that animated short for a lot of reasons, with the main being because he reminded me strongly of a DLC in the video game called Fallout 4, and this DLC was called Nuka World, and the way that it takes place is you are in a post-apocalyptic 200-year-old wasteland, and when you get this DLC, you get to go into a 200-year-old nuclear-bombed sort of theme park, and a lot of the role in this game is that you have to fight off a lot of robots, military-grade, post-war American robots that were protecting the theme park 200 years ago when people could still go to the theme park and everything like that. And now that the bombs have dropped, everything has gone haywire and they are all sort of in a hostile mode where they attack you. And the Robotic Fizzarolli really reminded me of that because I love theme parks. I love video games, I love gore, I love robotics and tech in general, with gore being to a certain extent, and the Robotic Fizzarolli reminded me of all these things, and one thing that I really liked about the Nuka World DLC was all of these things combined, with the robotics as well as the theme parks. I love all of that stuff, and that is my main reasoning for liking the Robotic Fizzarolli so much. So I have a couple reference photos here that I'll be drawing some of the more complicated parts of him, like the jester uniform as well as his face, because he is a semi-complex character at parts, and a lot of this will just be from memory because I do not like copying off of other people's art. It is not something that I support. I really don't like taking from others if I don't have to. But anyway, with that being said, let's go ahead and get into a time-lapse speed draw and see how the Robotic Fizzarolli turns out in the end. And with that, here we are with the Robotic Fizzarolli from Helluva Boss Episode 2, Lululand, spelled with O's instead of U's to avoid lawsuits, of course. So I really like how he came out. Now, I don't know if it's just with my sort of good luck streak, or maybe it's something like that, I don't really know, but all the recent drawings I've done that are semi-complex like this, where there's quite a bit that you can get proportionally off depending on how you're drawing, it's not been much trouble for me recently, and this was not something that I directly took from anything. This was, I looked at a couple things for his face and a lot of the details for his body, but once I'd memorized it, I did look at the iPad that I have sitting over here many more times after that. I was basically just sketching away with a bunch of the big details that I really found interesting about him that I actually memorized from the first time that I actually watched the short itself, like these very large sort of parts that come off of his head. I'm sure there's a proper term for them, of which I don't know them. I bet that I did once upon a time. And then also the part that goes around his neck, I also knew the term for this once upon a time, but I do not know. Now, I don't really know why. Maybe I just forgot because I hadn't had to think of it for so long. But either way, you have the bits coming off of the part around his neck with that line going down the middle, which I do quite like. And then you've got these, for lack of a better word, these tassels. They're not tassels, but that's what I'm going to call them because I know what tassels are, and these sort of remind me of tassels. tassels, but they are not tassels. And then as for the big parts that come off of his head, or the back of his head rather, you can see that I did decide to shade in some parts on the bits that would actually be the color. So this side would be white and this side would be red. And then these bits down here, all of the bells are sort of like a green, or they are sort of like a yellow or white. Of which, I didn't actually draw the other side of his hand. This one is showing his palm, of which I just simply took a picture of my hand doing this, and then just simply went off of that a little bit to get this hand, because I always draw my, the characters that I draw generally in the same pose, with one hand behind their back, and then one that is showing the palm and sort of like waving, because hands is not something I'm good at, so I generally draw them like this, so that I can get better at drawing hands over time as I draw more. And then as for his torso, we just simply have the lines coming down here to sort of like the spiky bits of the bottom of the costume for the jester. And then you've got some hearts, which I really like drawing, because hearts are something that I like drawing generally, because they have a lot of shapes that if you get them right, they look really nice. And then his legs come down here with the lines running down the middle, and then you've got the spikes at the bottom with his feet. Now this, anytime I draw his feet, really remind me of the scene where he's standing on the stage talking to Blitz, and he's like crossing his legs back and forth as he's making fun of Blitz's old jokes that he used to tell. And then his face I really like, and occasionally in the short you can actually see his pupils, so I decided to very lightly put some very small dots there to interpret the essence of like he's not right in the mind. Or so, sort of like he's insane, I guess you could say. I really like that vibe when, like, someone is really cool, but they're also really not right in the head, so they do some really sick things. But those sick things end up being really cool when you caption them in the right way, such as animation, which sounds really bad, but hopefully you know what I'm trying to get at there. And then in between his eyes, you have the little heart there, which might interpret that obviously this is the Robotic Fizzarolli, so the original Fizzarolli, because Blitz, one of the other characters, does say that he's a ripoff of a jester, so presumably there's a other Fizzarolli. Maybe this is referencing to the original Fizzarolli was killed by being shot in the head, because Alistair, another character from Hazbin Hotel, which takes place in the same universe in Hell, actually has a X on his head whenever he is urged or like mad or something like that that shows up, and that references to how he was actually killed, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. And then as for his mouth, you've got the really sharp teeth. I love sharp teeth, so I decided to go with those there. And then as for his arms, you've got the lines running down there just similar to the legs, except they're going more horizontal. And then on either side of his mouth, you've got these big dots, which I really like. And then the little bits for his arms, you've got the one happy, or sort of like the one expressive face, and then the one that is generally supposed to be more gloomy and sad. Although it kind of looks like he's just upset because his eye, the way that I drew it, part of it is behind this bit, so you can't really tell that it's supposed to be sad, so it kind of just looks like he's upset or angry, almost. But either way, with that being said, this is the Robotic Fizzarolli drawing that I did based on the couple of references that I had and my memory from the original short itself. I really like how this came out. I love the Robotic Fizzarolli, and as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, I love gore to a certain extent. I love robotics, I love video games, I love theme parks, anything to do with that, and all of this, I absolutely love that I've actually drawn a robotic character of sorts for my first time, because generally I don't draw robotic characters at all. Even while you can't really tell he's robotic, I could add some sparks in here to sort of give off the essence. But anyway, with all that being said, if you guys enjoyed today's video as much as I enjoyed drawing the Robotic Fizzarolli,